When getting into tabletop war games, skirmish games, or RPG games, there are a few things on the list that needs ticking. First off is the choice of game, sci-fi, fantasy, historical. Usually something sticks, or even pulls, with deciding factors like the setting of the game, the actual rules, the fact that you know people who play. In utopian worlds, all of the above. Then comes the miniatures, old, new, borrowed, hopefully not stolen, but hopefully to one's liking. For a lot of us, down at the bottom, like one of those fish with attached lantern, comes terrain. By this, I don't mean that terrain should be randomly floating by in hope for some estranged wargamer to see the light, resulting in eternal darkness. Many enjoy terrain as the foremost hobby thing, but on a whole, we tend to see more focus on new miniature releases and pigment pushing than we do realistic leaf sculpting. Enter a game store and the game/mini/paint section is oftenly more well-stocked than there are miniature castles. The thing is, I love terrain and what it entails. Effectively, not only changing the entire mood of a game, pulling my imagine away from the surrounding kitchen, unwashed dishes and all, to the fact that there really is a little miniature adventure going on the table. For RPG games, terrain is a massive bringer of story, and the gameplay-altering effect of terrain in wargames is massive, offering cover, altering options for better or worse. I'm sure Sun Tzu would agree, understanding terrain is the stuff of a superior general. I have, since I got back into the wonderful world of wargaming, been dreaming of playing games with great terrain. Rather specific terrain, actually. I want a city of sorts, or a little town, at least. No perfect flat fields, no charging straight ahead, no shooting to one end of the board to the other, but narrow streets to water with enemy blood, buildings to climb, buildings for cover, buildings to smash into rubble. I started out once, built some houses, like farmhouses, as a start to my city. It was quite fun. I do like building stuff, but my houses turned out to be kind of flawed. I used Age of Sigmar Stormcast for scale, with a distinct largeness as a result. Is that a church? No, it's a one-bedroom apartment for a Stormcast. Playability was also an issue. Sealed shut, also slanting roofs, no place for troops, or dice or markers. Most importantly, to me, I've realized, is the design aspect. Now, this is by no means a crackdown on self-designed builds, rather me acknowledging my own struggle with specific build symmetry in correlation to my personal need for it on the table. So as much as I like and admire scratch builds, I've decided to buy terrain. I think deep down I've realized the time and effort to scratch build an entire city that I would enjoy the look of, that plays well on the table and that is properly in scale is, at the moment, a momentous task. On the basis of having a project to enlighten my evenings by the kitchen table, I know, I have this studio space thing now, but it's full of minis and tripods and fancy lighting equipment. Only half kind of kidding, but I was looking for a project I could work on from home, something simpler I could maybe do with my son, and that would not, let's say, cover him in air-drying clay, to then, through means of very inventive child transportation, spread the mess throughout the rest of the apartment like a nurgling invasion. So I started looking at housing options, and it didn't take me too long, slightly through the enlightened eyes of Luke from Geek Gaming Scenics, to settle for MDF. Cheap, relatively 3D jigsaw, family-friendly puzzle assembly. A still somewhat empty-ish canvas that I could hopefully embellish on with small ideas of my own. A starting point, in a way. Design and scale taken care of, but still rudimentary enough a build that can be further elevated with simpler crafting. MDF, medium density fiberboard, essentially wood fibers combined with wax and resin, formaldehyde and stuff like that, to then be formed, heated and pressed into sheets or panels. For terrain, these thin sheets are laser cut into bits that hopefully fit together and form a sort of 3D puzzle, that when assembled, hopefully looks like the picture on the cover. There's tons of MDF terrain out there, anything from actual scale model builds from specific World War II Normandy housing to extensively ornamental futuristic orc privies. But my needs were specific, utterly specific. My big wish is to have one set of terrain for all my games. A town that could work in both a past and future fantasy setting. And for both wargames and skirmish games. I mean, a town-sized project in MDF is not the most expensive of ventures, but for me, the time spent on such a project. Let's just say I don't really want to do 2 cities. And there's always the storage issue to consider. Also, more specifics. I want the terrain to be gameable. What does that mean? Well, I could talk excessively on the subject, or just narrow it down to flat roofs. A lot of flat roofs, and maybe some walkways, places to put one's miniatures. Filling up an entire board of things that one cannot utilize even for something simple as placing one's cup of coffee is to me a waste of space. It's not a huge surprise that the typical ruined L-shaped building is probably the most used piece of terrain in wargaming, because it's utterly gameable. And because of my specifics, the vast array of offered styles of MDF houses suddenly became non-existent, combining my search for a non-stereotypical design with the element of playability, and there was not much left. I think on the whole, and this goes for a lot of aspects in the hobby, it's a favorite reoccurring theme of mine, we've got quite set rules imprinted on us. For some, since childhood, are the spiraling towers of Gondor, the fantastically classical school of Mr. Potter, the industrial complexes of the far future. Apparent at least is that a majority of MDF terrain producers decide on very specific styles. And so my first apparent mission formed into thoughts of kit bashing. It seemed like the only option. To get some in itself labelled and specific and then redesigning it with something of the opposite. A medieval castle bashed together with a sci-fi landing outpost, kind of a thing. A lot of work. But then I found Ryan. Well, no, I didn't. I found Brutal Cities, Ryan's MDF terrain company. After months of making lists of possible bashable builds, there in front of me, all of a sudden, the answer to all my prayers appeared like a mirage. Flat roofs and all. And now begins the superlative part of this story. Brutal Cities is founded by architect Ryan Jago. This, by the way, is not a sponsored video, more of a collaboration based on equal excitement. Ryan, a wargamer himself who built a foam core 40k build as his arts major, went on to become an architect and then went full circle and now runs Brutal Cities. Inspired by real-world houses, sci-fi movies, and obviously brutalism, Ryan's approach to creating designs is, to me, utterly refreshing. It's actual architecture, done in miniature form. Not only through the eyes of an architect, but through the eyes of a gamer. Every house is quite a unique statement in design, to me very pleasing to the eye, but also features simple solutions to simplify and enhance gaming. As soon as I saw these houses, I knew this was exactly what I'd been looking for. They are apparent in their modern setting, but the distinct design has a timelessness to it, and I do not find them quite as labelled by the previously mentioned rules we tend to set for ourselves. Remove some of the aircon boxes and piping details from this data center, painted a little differently, and it could very well pass for a evilish wizard's tower. The Institute here could pass as both a fantasy and sci-fi Inquisition headquarters. Long stretch one's mind, and I kinda could see Morgan Le Fay levitating above this thing. I instantly contacted Ryan, said I wanted all his stuff, and could we talk a little about the designs and that. It became pretty evident that Ryan's process when creating his houses is a long list of ticking all the boxes of what drew me to them in the first place. A wargamer and lover of terrain, Ryan initially struggled to find MDF buildings that suited, not only architecturally but also construction-wise. So he decided to make his own, essentially striving to keep things simple. Simple to build, simple to paint, and simple to use. It should be easy to get to your miniatures, and terrain should bring possibilities to a game, not the opposite. An idea for a build can start with any spark of imagination. A specific example we talked about was the Easy Org shop. What if that local grocery store on the corner eventually got heritage listed? To keep it standing through the years, concrete and steel framing has been added during renovations. A minimalist top floor standing on the old heritage brick, no longer a grocery store but a shop specializing in affordable but lethal black market combat augments. Oh, and the top floor obviously has lots of windows and a balcony for snipers. From that idea, Ryan starts the design, keeping in mind gameplay, ease of use, and assembly. Brutal Cities is, as we speak, a one-man operation, from architectural design to the laser cutting process. Ryan even paints all the builds seen on the website, and apparently gets to play a game with them every now and again too. Although a lot of the buildings have a specific look, quite a few are designed to customize. The Brutopolis Plaza, for example, has a specific bottom and top story, with the possibilities to add as many stories in between as one wants. Similarly possible with the Cabbage Palms building. The Eternity Labs modules are simple square designs that can be stacked and joined together, bringing the possibility to create a new setting for every game. And I mean, this kind of modularity is not only fun when setting up a table, it also promises the possibility to expand. The option to buy a few buildings at a time, knowing that they will complement what one already has. By the way, these are all my thoughts and words and interpretations of what I've been getting out of Ryan when we're talking, although I am kind of hoping Ryan might employ me as master of marketing by the end of all this. But yeah. Almost all of the Brutal Cities terrain has etched in detail into the smooth MDF surface. This is something I consider quite essential to give an MDF terrain some life, elevating the shoebox vibe to something a lot more detailed and three-dimensional. While talking and emailing to Ryan for a while, I sort of blurted out that walls would be cool. Something in the way of town walls, modular, maybe with walkways, something to create screens and elevation, but also to enforce the feel of city or town without having to use actual housing. About a week later, Ryan sent me a message on Instagram with a small video clip of, yes, a modular wall system, with doors and everything. He even did snap-on crenellations so that if I want, I can transform a wall into something more medieval, or not. I mean, how cool is that? These sort of customly made for me walls will at some point, in some form, be available on the Brutal Cities website. I've now received my Bend Your Knees or Hurt Your Back package all the way from Australia. My plan is to subtly alter some of these builds, add textures and details, slightly transform this into terrain that will hopefully fit in a fantasy as well as a sci-fi setting. Also by using genre-specific scatter terrain to enforce my point. A spaceship parked next to one of these houses will make things look quite different compared to barrels of beer and sloppily parked horses. If you're watching this video sometime after its release, let's just hope there's a lovely playlist of more videos for you to watch, like how to convert MDF terrain, or how do I fix MDF terrain that I accidentally glued together upside down, or this MDF city took me 3 years to build. For those of you watching this video as it's released, welcome to the introduction of my ongoing terrain project. Let's just say there will be more to come. Now please, do go check out Ryan's stuff. As you've fathomed, I absolutely adore the designs, and I hope you do too. Thanks for watching. Bye.